Today I've chosen to discuss a particular topic that investigates the biological explanations for crime. First, let's start off with the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain that controls the important cognitive skills in humans, such as emotional expression, judgment, and their behaviour. It is, in essence, the control panel of our personality and our ability to communicate with one another. The frontal lobe consists of the precentral and prefrontal cortex and is the most common place for brain injury to occur. Damage to the prefrontal cortex creates the inability to inhibit appropriate social behaviours, creates changes in one's personalities, limits facial expressions, and also provides difficulty in the ability to interpret one's environment, such as being able to assess risk and danger. This damage to the brain is also referred to as traumatic brain injury, TBI. TBI is classified into two main categories, mild or severe, and is unlike any other injury as it limits the specific use of a body part and prevents an individual the ability to regulate their own behaviour and emotions. Study has shown that prefrontal lobe injuries make up 87% of the prison population, meaning that a very high number of criminal offenders are known to have some sort of traumatic or chronic brain injury. It has been shown that after prefrontal lobe injuries have occurred, an individual is likely to have issues with increased aggression, hostility, personality changes, and also assaultive behaviour. All of those mentioned provide reasoning as to why violent offenders are commonly known to have traumatic brain injuries that impair their brain functioning. These frontal lobe lesions are so commonly associated with violence as those individuals have an inability to regulate their own emotions, often anger, which results in them lashing out or possibly harming others. The frontal lobe of every brain provides an individual the context for the emotions to be experienced and helps one to understand and then further deal with those emotions. Emotions that are essentially being regulated by the prefrontal lobe are then originally being produced by the limbic system. The limbic system is solely about emotions and processing those emotions. A small structure within the brain that is also part of the limbic system and referred to as the amygdala is said to hold the key to understanding why these such behaviour responses occur. The amygdala essentially provides a bridge between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. If the amygdala is damaged, it causes aggression, irritability, and the individual to have less emotional control as they cannot regulate their behaviour as a result of their surrounding environment. This damage also highlights deficits in individuals recognising emotions in other people as well as themselves, and in particular the emotion of fear. It means they cannot recognise if they are causing such fear in another person as they cannot identify fear. As a result of this, it often means these individuals react to what they think is anger, but instead is actually fear. This obviously causes a lot of major problems as these people already have a tendency to be aggressive, easily irritated with an inability to control their own emotions, let alone be able to recognise emotions in another person and respond appropriately. All of these traits provide strong reasoning as to why traumatic or chronic brain injury are relaying factors in why violent offenders commit such crimes and respond to situations with the actions they unfortunately do. It is known that a lot of these violent offenders suffer from what is known as alexithymia, which is the inability to label emotions, meaning that they don't understand the emotions being experienced within the context of what is actually happening around them. This provides them difficulty with being able to restrain their own behaviour and actions as a response to emotions being felt. The amygdala controls emotion responses and functions such as alexithymia. Therefore, this is why it is seen to have the key to allowing us to understand why such things, including alexithymia, occur. Everyone is born with a brain as an organ to develop within his or her surrounding environment. A child's early environment is extremely important in them developing a healthy and functional brain that is endorsed to be able to regulate one's behaviours and emotions. Offenders are so often known to have issues with impulsivity and aggressive behaviour as their limbic systems have not fully developed appropriately as a child. It has been shown that children who have experienced neglect meaning they have had no stimulation in their early environment, have a smaller brain than the average child, as their brain has been subjected to neglect in the early stages of their crucial development. This therefore means that they have a smaller frontal lobe and a diminished regulatory capacity, which goes back to an individual's capacity to regulate their own emotions, but now in the later stages of their life. Consequently, this means that these neglected children inhibit dysfunctions within their brains at an early stage of their life that could quite likely present serious behavioural problems later on. In conclusion, study has shown that these traumatic brain injuries are why it could be more common to find criminality in individuals who have neglected childhood experiences, to which affect the development of certain aspects of their brains. Therefore, if early intervention is put in place, then the capacity to reduce crime as a result of these traumatic brain injuries can easily be achieved. However, I'm well aware that this only presents one perspective, to which presents its own limitations on siding with the brain to be the only reason for violent crime. This perspective does not include any other reasoning, such as a perspective from sociology. The perspective from sociology, which might detail how social influences affect one's behaviour and how they might respond as a result of the social context, including conformity, compliance, and obedience in the society they are a part of.